Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions. Whereas Representative Omar assured the Somalians she spoke to, the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia.
Look, if you're not happy in America, leave. And I consider Congresswoman Omar, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Tlaib, Congresswoman Presley, I think is her name.
What you're about to see is exactly why so many Americans are deeply concerned about the path this nation is taking. On one side, you have leaders like Marjorie Taylor Greene and John Kennedy who aren't afraid to step forward and say what they believe is the honest, unfiltered truth. And on the other side, you have a sitting congresswoman whose actions make many people question where her true loyalties really lie. This goes far beyond ordinary political debate. This is about allegiance. It raises a fundamental question: are you serving the citizens who put you in office, or are you prioritizing the interests of someone else? We're about to watch the complete footage and examine every shocking second of it. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. But before we get into it, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and prepare to share your thoughts in the comments, because I want to know exactly where you stand on this.
Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Whereas elected members of Congress take an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the United States without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. Whereas Representative Ilhan Omar took an oath of allegiance to the United States upon becoming a citizen, declaring, "I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen." Whereas on January 27, 2024, Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions. Whereas Representative Omar assured the Somalians she spoke to, the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia. Whereas Representative Omar continued, "For as long as I am in U.S. Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters will not be stolen by Ethiopia or others. Sleep in comfort knowing I am here to protect the interest of Somalia from inside the U.S. system." Whereas George Washington warned in his farewell address of 1796 to guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism, and further declared citizens by birth or choice of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. Whereas these statements by Representative Omar clearly violate the oath she took as an elected member of Congress to defend and protect the United States Constitution. Whereas Representative Omar has exhibited the treasonous tendencies George Washington warned about, and her actions must be condemned by all members of Congress who adhere to the oath they took upon assuming office. And whereas by openly admitting her efforts to advance Somalia's interest using her position as a United States representative, Representative Omar has revealed herself to be a foreign agent acting on behalf of a foreign government. Now, therefore be it. resolve that Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota be censured. Representative Ilhan Omar forthwith present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure. Representative Ilhan Omar be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker, and Representative Ilhan Omar be and is hereby removed from the Committee of the Budget and the Committee on Education and the Workforce.
You know, when you argue with a fool, you just prove there are two. And I consider Congresswoman Omar, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Tlaib, Congresswoman Presley, I think is her name. They call themselves the Squad. I consider them to be fools. They hate America. They think America was wicked in its origins, and it's even more wicked today. They ought to be thanking America instead of calling America evil and wicked and racist. But this is America, and they have the right to their opinion. But I don't like to see the president even dignify their point of view. Besides that, I think that the Squad, as they call themselves, they are destroying the Democratic Party. You know, when your opponent is screwing up, don't interrupt him. Let him go. I mean, just looking at this from a political standpoint, if I didn't know better, I would think the members of the Squad were GOP plants. I mean, they think that illegal immigration, socialism, higher taxes, abortion are all moral goods. They think America, Israel, free enterprise are moral bads. That's not what most Americans believe. And that's kind of where I am on the subject. The president has explained his position. He has said, look, here's what I meant. If you're not happy...
All right, let's jump straight into it. First up, Marjorie Taylor Greene on the House floor. That opening line, Representative Ilhan Omar of Somalia. I mean Minnesota, that wasn't some innocent mistake. That was deliberate. It was calculated. Right from the start, she was setting the tone and forcing the question front and center. Where do your true loyalties lie? Then she moves into the heart of the issue, reading directly from the resolution itself, and the implications are staggering. She brings up the oath of office, the same oath every member of Congress swears, not as some ceremonial formality, but as a binding promise. A commitment to give true faith and allegiance to the United States. Greene is making it clear that those words aren't optional. They matter. And in her view, they demand accountability. The statements she reads are, frankly, hard to ignore. Quotes suggesting influence over U.S. policy on behalf of Somalia, and claims about protecting Somalia's interests from within the American system. It raises a serious question. How does that align with the responsibility to represent American citizens, especially the people of Minnesota? From Greene's perspective, calling this out isn't about personal attacks, it's about defining responsibility. She argues that when questions of loyalty surface at this level, the institution itself is at stake. That's why she pushes for consequences like censure and committee removal, saying it's about protecting the credibility of Congress and the trust of the American people. Now, shifting over to John Kennedy. His approach is different, but his message lands just as firmly. He has that calm, direct Louisiana delivery that cuts straight to the point. He talks about not wanting to waste time arguing endlessly, but also recognizing when something needs to be said plainly. Kennedy voices a frustration that resonates with many Americans. He argues that certain political voices spend more time criticizing the country than appreciating it. In his view, they highlight America's shortcomings while overlooking its strengths, the freedoms, the opportunities, and the foundation it was built on. He also warns about what he sees as a growing ideological divide, saying this more radical faction is reshaping the political landscape from within. According to him, it's creating distance between traditional values like free enterprise and individual liberty, and a newer, more confrontational political vision. And finally, he echoes a sentiment often associated with Donald Trump, the idea that America is ultimately a nation of choice. Kennedy frames it as a simple question: if someone truly believes the country is fundamentally broken, why would they want to remain here, much less lead it? So in the end, while Greene brings intensity and Kennedy brings calm clarity, they both arrive at the same underlying concern. They are raising alarms about what they believe is a deeper issue: whether everyone in positions of power is truly putting America first.